The idea that the first White Walker was once a brother of the Night's Watch adds a haunting layer of tragedy to the mythology of the North. The Night's Watch is built on vows of sacrifice, duty, and protection, men who abandoned their past lives to guard the realm of the living. If one of these sworn guardians became the very embodiment of death, it reflects a profound inversion of purpose, where the protector becomes the ultimate threat. This possibility reframes the origin of the White Walkers, not as something purely alien, but as something disturbingly human at its core. Such a transformation suggests that the boundary between humanity and monstrosity in this world is thinner than it appears. The Night's Watch recruits from criminals, exiles, and broken men, individuals already shaped by hardship. Their identity is stripped away, replaced with a singular mission. If one of them were taken, altered, or willingly crossed into something else, it would symbolize the fragility of identity when confronted with ancient forces. The cold, emotionless White Walkers could thus represent the complete erasure of self. There is also a poetic irony in the wall itself, serving as both a line of defense and a silent witness to this corruption. The brothers stand atop it, believing they are the last shield against darkness, unaware that darkness may have once stood among them. This duality enriches the narrative, turning the wall into more than a physical structure. It becomes a symbol of denial, where truth is buried beneath centuries of tradition and fear. The ritualistic nature of the Night's Watch vows echoes the mysterious magic tied to the White Walkers. Both involve transformation, one symbolic, the other literal. When a man takes the black, he is reborn into a life of duty. If the first White Walker emerged from such a man, it creates a parallel between two forms of rebirth, one rooted in honor, the other in corruption. This mirroring deepens the sense that the White Walkers are not entirely separate from humanity, but rather a distorted reflection of it. The emotional weight of this theory grows when considering brotherhood. The Night's Watch is meant to be a family, bound by loyalty stronger than blood. To imagine one of them becoming the origin of the enemy introduces themes of betrayal, even if that betrayal was not voluntary. It evokes the fear that evil does not always come from outside forces, but can emerge from within the very institutions meant to protect. This interpretation also aligns with the recurring theme of cyclical history. In this world, past mistakes are often repeated, and forgotten truths resurface in dangerous ways. If the first White Walker was once a brother, it suggests that the origins of the Long Night are tied to human choices rather than purely external threats. The past is not just a distant story, but an unresolved consequence still shaping the present. The symbolism extends to the idea of exile and belonging. Members of the Night's Watch are already outsiders, removed from society. Becoming a White Walker would be the ultimate exile, not just from society, but from life itself. It transforms loneliness into something eternal, where the individual is cut off from warmth, memory, and connection, embodying the very cold they were sworn to fight. There is also a visual symbolism in the stark contrast between black cloaks and icy blue eyes. The black of the Night's Watch represents anonymity and unity, while the icy blue of the White Walkers signifies individuality erased into something unnatural. The shift from one to the other can be seen as a passage from chosen sacrifice to imposed oblivion, where the self is not just hidden, but completely destroyed. This theory invites reflection on the nature of duty and its limits. The Night's Watch believes in an unbreakable mission, yet the existence of a corrupted brother would show that even the strongest vows can be undone by forces beyond human control. It challenges the notion that honor alone is enough to stand against ancient magic, suggesting that some battles require more than discipline and belief. Ultimately, the transformation of a Night's Watch brother into the first White Walker encapsulates the central tension of the story, the struggle between memory and forgetting, warmth and cold, life and death. It serves as a reminder that the greatest horrors are often rooted in familiar beginnings, and that the line between hero and monster can be frighteningly thin when the world itself begins to unravel. HBO's adaptation subtly weaves symbolism into its portrayal of the White Walkers, using visual cues and narrative echoes to suggest deeper connections between the living and the dead. One of the most striking elements is the recurring imagery of circles and patterns, often associated with the White Walkers. These formations resemble ritualistic symbols, hinting at an ancient order that predates current civilizations, possibly tied to forgotten histories involving the Night's Watch or its predecessors. The show frequently juxtaposes scenes of the Night's Watch with those of the White Walkers, creating a visual dialogue between the two. The stark, icy landscapes mirror the bleakness of the wall, reinforcing the idea that both groups exist in a liminal space between worlds. This parallel suggests that they are not opposites, but rather two sides of the same coin, bound by a shared origin or purpose that has diverged over time. Costuming also plays a crucial role in this symbolism. The heavy black garments of the Night's Watch contrast sharply with the pale, almost skeletal appearance of the White Walkers, yet both evoke a sense of uniformity and loss of individuality. This visual connection reinforces the idea that the transformation from brother to White Walker is not just physical, but thematic, representing a progression from one form of collective identity to another. The use of silence and sound design further emphasizes this relationship. The Night's Watch operates in harsh, quiet environments where every sound carries weight. Similarly, the presence of the White Walkers is often marked by an eerie stillness, as if the world itself holds its breath. This shared atmosphere creates an unsettling link, suggesting that both groups exist under the same oppressive reality, even if they serve different roles within it. HBO also employs symbolism through the concept of memory. The Night's Watch is tasked with remembering and guarding against ancient threats, yet much of what they know is incomplete or distorted. The White Walkers, in contrast, seem to embody a form of memory that cannot be forgotten, a living reminder of past conflicts. This dynamic creates a tension between imperfect human recollection and the relentless permanence of the supernatural. The transformation motif is echoed in smaller narrative details, such as the way characters within the Night's Watch confront their own identities. Many struggle with who they were before taking the black and who they are now. This internal conflict mirrors the external transformation into a White Walker, suggesting that identity in this world is always in flux, vulnerable to forces both internal and external. Symbolism is also present in the idea of cold versus warmth. The wall represents a barrier against the cold, but it is also a place devoid of warmth in a human sense. The White Walkers take this to its extreme, embodying absolute coldness. This progression highlights how the absence of warmth, both physical and emotional, can lead to dehumanization, reinforcing the thematic connection between the two groups. The show's visual storytelling often hints at cycles, with repeated patterns in both architecture and movement. The circular arrangements left by the White Walkers echo ancient symbols, possibly linked to early rituals that the Night's Watch has long forgotten. These patterns suggest that history is not linear, but cyclical, with past events repeating in altered forms. Another layer of symbolism lies in the concept of guardianship. The Night's Watch sees itself as the protector of the realm, yet the White Walkers could be interpreted as guardians of an older, more primal order. This inversion challenges the audience to question who the true guardians are and whether the conflict is as clear-cut as it appears. In the end, HBO's subtle symbolism transforms the story into more than a battle between good and evil. It becomes an exploration of identity, memory, and transformation, where the line between the Night's Watch and the White Walkers is blurred by shared imagery and thematic resonance. The possibility that one emerged from the other is not just a theory, but a narrative device that deepens the story's emotional and philosophical impact.